2023 wasn't a good year for the Carolina Panthers, but I'm trying to make 2024 a better one for myself. Get started on your resolutions with Factor so you're ready for the new year. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores, prep work, and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including keto options, calorie smart, vegan plus veggie, and more, plus over 55 weekly add-ons, you'll have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart your resolutions. Skip that overpriced takeout trap. Factor is cheaper and way more delicious than takeout. Get chef-crafted, restaurant-quality meals delivered right to your door, and they're ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes, which means more time for you. Head to factormeals.com/C350 and use the promo code C350 to get 50% off. That's code C350 at factormeals.com/C350 to get 50% off.
Tony Dunn here with the C3 Panthers podcast, and I've got a cool announcement for you guys and a new feature to the C3 lineup. In our effort to bring you the most pertinent Panthers content, we're going to be dropping a new preview show at the end of the week, Thursdays or maybe Fridays sometimes. And it's going to be brought to you by Joshua Outland. Many of you may know him from Facebook as the Shadow Cat, giving you a little insight and context to the weekly matchup that the Panthers are facing. We've got our first preview ready for you now going into this blockbuster matchup between the Carolina Panthers and the Pittsburgh Steelers on Thursday Night Football. So go ahead and put it on your lineup for weekly listening. The C3 game preview brought to you by the Shadow Cat. Give it up for Joshua Outland.
Hello, everybody. This is Joshua the Shadow Cat Outland with your C3 Carolina Cat Chronicles. Carolina Panthers, Pittsburgh Steelers, Thursday Night Football preview. These two teams have played in the preseason at least the past 8 years, trading wins back and forth and back and forth and back and forth ad nauseum. These games are usually played in the 4th preseason week with barely any starters suiting up. As a matter of fact, Cam Newton has only played in this preseason games 3 of the 8 times, and even then only playing in 1 drive. The last time these teams played when the regular season was some stakes on the line was September 21st, 2014, Sunday Night Football. The Carolina Panthers came into this game at home 2-0, hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers, who came in at 1-1. Fans had faith that the Carolina Panthers would be able to go for their first ever 3-0 start since their 2003 Cardiac Cat season, but unfortunately the Carolina Panthers got exposed, proving they weren't quite ready for prime time with the lights on bright. And after a close first half, in the second half, the Steelers would explode with 28 points to win the game 37-19. Le'Veon Bell and LeGarrette Blount each ran for over 100 yards each, which is pretty much an anomaly against that Carolina Panthers' vaunted rushing defense. Cam Newton was 24 of 35 for 250 yards and a touchdown, a pretty damn decent game passing, but he was held to just 7 yards on 2 rushes, taking a knee to the head by Ryan Shazier on one of those rushes. Cam Newton was sacked 3 times and was under heavy duress the entire night and was obviously showing effects of a lingering preseason injury suffered in Week 3 against the New England Patriots. Cam Newton was pulled in the 4th quarter, giving way to Derek Anderson, who stepped in and had a touchdown pass to Kelvin Benjamin, which would make the score 37-19. Big Ben Roethlisberger went 22 of 30 for 196 yards and 2 touchdowns. Both of those went to Antonio Brown, this year's Madden cover winner. Bell and Blount both combined for an astonishing 264 yards on 34 carries. This loss sent the Carolina Panthers into a tailspin, and they watched as that 2-1 record would fall again to 2-2 with the blood and guts game against recently departed Steve Smith Sr. That loss would send them down from 2-2 all the way down to 3-8-1, and they needed a last quarter first season adjustment, adding speed and youth on both offense and in the secondary to claw, scratch, fight, and battle their way back from beyond the jaws of oblivion. One step from perdition, one loss would have been the end of their playoff hopes and would have sent the Carolina Panthers home for the season early in 2014. However, those adjustments allowed them to battle back and they would win their last 4 games. First at New Orleans, a dominating performance. Then they beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers without Cam Newton, who had been in a severe car accident, flipping his truck and breaking a vertebrae the week prior. Cam Newton would miraculously return to action the next week, showing the rookie Johnny Manziel and the Cleveland Browns how to run the ball at quarterback. And then they had a dominant 34-3 win against Atlanta in Atlanta. With 2 pick sixes, Cam Newton barely had to break a sweat, and the Panthers won the NFC South Division for the first time 2 years in a row. They were the only NFC South team to this point to accomplish that feat. They also became the second team in NFL history to win their division with a losing record. The first one being, of course, the 2010 Seattle Seahawks. They say the more things change, the more they stay the same. Carolina and Pittsburgh are both coming in hot off division wins. The Steelers won over the Baltimore Ravens just this past week. Big Ben completed 28 of 42 passes for 270 yards and 2 touchdowns. James Conner was a linchpin for their offense, and they relied heavily on him to keep that game from spiraling out of control. His runs really helped slow the game down for the Steelers and allowed them to exit with a win. A heavy dose of James Conner, both rushing and receiving out of the backfield. That man had 24 carries for 107 yards, and he had 7 receptions for 56 yards and a touchdown. The Steelers would go on to avenge a prior loss to the Ravens, winning a tight one, a one-possession game, 23-16. Meanwhile, the Carolina Panthers are coming in on fire. In the span of the past 5 weeks, they have had a miraculous 63-yard field goal hit by Graham Gano, which has since been named the mid-season NFL Play of the Year, a play that flipped Carolina's odds of winning that game over the Giants by a massive 80%. The following week, they had a close last-minute loss in Washington, which saw them make a ferocious second-half comeback. Then, on the road, down 17-0 against the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles, they roared back in the fourth quarter with 21 straight points to win, 21-17. That performance by Cam Newton named him the NFC Offensive Player of the Week. They would then host the number 1 defense of the Baltimore Ravens, dismantling them 36-21 in a game that was nowhere as close as that score makes it appear. Then last week, they took down the number 1 passing and scoring offense, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a division rival. They held Fitzpatrick pretty effectively with a Panthers franchise record 35 points scored in the first half. One of those touchdowns, in fact the final Panthers score of the half, was a phenomenal one-handed catch that Odell Beckham Jr. would be envious of.
A sticky catch, but an unbelievable catch.
After that, Ryan Fitzpatrick staged a comeback, and for a while, it looked like the Fitz magic was back as they made the score 35-28 in a one-possession game. However, much like they have done all season, the Cardiac Cats took over in the fourth quarter with Cam Newton screaming enough, taking over on a scoring drive and accounting for over 60 yards of total offense combined with his arms and his legs. He would slam the door shut on the Buccaneers' comeback hopes.
Newton on second and 15 to the end zone for Samuel. He makes the catch. Touchdown. His second of today's game. Curtis Samuel. And the Panthers extend their lead.
That score would put the game almost out of reach, 42-28 with under 5 minutes left. However, Ryan Fitzpatrick wanted to try to make some more Fitzmagic happen. Instead, the door that Cam Newton had slammed shut the drive prior would then be locked, deadbolted, and reinforced when rookie Dante Action Jackson made this acrobatic pick to seal the game for the Panthers.
Position of the day for Tampa Bay. As Fitzpatrick fires downfield, looking for Deshaun Jackson, and it is picked off.
A double move on Dante Jackson, but he was all over it. And this is a fantastic interception.
Away from Deshaun Jackson.
That pick is his fourth of the season, and he leads all rookies of the NFL in interceptions and is a candidate for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Cam Newton would take matters into his own hands again, scrambling for an easy first down run on 3rd and medium and allowing the Carolina Panthers to go to victory formation, nilling out the clock to win 42-28. Cam Newton has continued his stellar 2018 performance, which is better in all stats than his 2015 MVP performance season. Cam Newton would pass for 19 completions out of 25 attempts, 76% accuracy, for 247 yards and 2 touchdowns. He continues his torrid pace with an accuracy above 65, a career high that nobody thought was possible before Norv Turner, the offensive coordinator, and Cam Newton both put in the work to silence the critics and the naysayers, allowing this career-high accuracy. Christian McCaffrey proved he is a legit option, both in the rushing and the receiving game, as well as fantasy football, exploding for almost 150 total yards of offense and 2 touchdowns. He had 17 carries for 79 yards. One of those runs, a magnificent run and a hurdle that you will be seeing on SportsCenter highlights this week. The 35-point onslaught started with an Alex Armah touchdown directly set up by Eric Reid's first interception since coming to the Carolina Panthers this year. He snagged an errant pass intended for Mike Evans, who, by the way, was held by James Bradbury to just 1 catch off of 10 attempts for under 20 yards, and he took that pick with a key block by Luke Kuechly from the Panthers 35 down to the Tampa Bay 10-yard line. After that touchdown run by Armah, McCaffrey would run in for an easy 3-yard run. No muss, no fuss. Touchdown Panthers, making it 14-0. Ryan Fitzpatrick would strike back, finding sophomore tight end O.J. Howard on a mismatch for a 4-yard touchdown. At that point, Carolina would go on a tear, scoring 21 straight points, 3 touchdowns on their next 3 possessions to make it 35-7. One of those is a highlight run by Curtis Samuel off a double reverse that saw him following key blocks by both Cam Newton and Greg Olsen, running a massive 103 yards total en route to a 33-yard touchdown run. The last score was a magnificent 17-yard pass by Cam Newton and an even more magnificent one-handed snag by Greg Olsen for the touchdown. After that, the Bucs staged a comeback that fell short, scoring 21 unanswered points in the second and third quarter, with Ryan Fitzpatrick finding O.J. Howard again for a 3-yard touchdown, and then finding Adam Humphries, who had a bit of a breakout performance, for 2 touchdowns before Cam Newton, Curtis Samuel, and Dante Action Jackson ended the comeback, ensuring a 42-28 win and going 6-2 on the season. The Carolina Panthers now head to Heinz Field to play Pittsburgh on a short week, Thursday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Both teams are having great runs with their offense. Here you have the killer BCs of Ben Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown, James Conner, and possibly Le'Veon Bell against the Thundercats of Carolina. A pick-your-poison-style offense full of versatility, misdirection, and black speed. Both the Steelers and Panthers are in a crowded battle for division supremacy. One misstep could spell the difference between division champions or just being a wild card contender. The Carolina Panthers are 1 game back of New Orleans with 8 games remaining. They want to control their own destiny, and a statement road win against the heavily favored Pittsburgh Steelers will go a long way toward allowing that to happen. For the Carolina Panthers offense, they need to use their speed and misdirection to their advantage. Cam Newton is going to have to spread that ball around to every single one of his weapons, and they need to move the chains efficiently, avoiding 3rd and long situations, which tend to lead to sacks, fumbles, and picks. For the Carolina Panthers defense, I believe they need to contain James Conner. This is the key. Hold him to under 100 total yards of offense, and your chances of getting the Big Ben Roethlisberger and forcing turnovers dramatically increase. If the Carolina Panthers fail to do that, then play action will eat the Panthers alive, allowing the Steelers to move the chains, avoid mistakes, get completions to both Antonio Brown, James Conner, their tight end, and Juju Smith-Schuster, and allowing the home team crowd to play their part. A win here will catapult the Carolina Panthers up the charts and will bring them 1 step closer to their first playoff berth under new owner David Tepper, who ironically has ties to the Pittsburgh Steelers. From C3 Carolina Cat Chronicles, this has been Joshua Shadow Cat Outland. Thanks for listening.
Subscribe to the C3 Carolina Panthers podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, or anywhere you can catch an RSS feed. Check out CarolinaCatChronicles.com for the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective.
Great cash, homie.